Hey everyone, Brian Bolin here. Today I'm going to be showing you how to program natural sounding drums using Steven Slate Drums 5 in the style of Tenacious D. Let's get started. So as you can see here, I got my Pro Tools session up. I already have some of these drums routed right here. In the kit I'm using, well, I guess I'll back up a bit here. I originally tried to use Abbey Road Drum, the virtual instrument that comes with Contact, and it was really cool. It was organic, but it was just a little bit too raw and ringy for this. Um, Basically, the project I'm working on is it's for a comedy album, and the client's name is Bradley Dern, and he's got a really awesome sound he's getting for this album. And basically, what I'm doing is helping him program the drums. Help him out with some of the instruments and stuff like that. So this specific song, all the other ones are all originals, but this specific song is like a medley of a bunch of Tenacious D songs. So we're having fun with it. We're doing like our own spin on it, and I'm producing it for him. And basically, kind of a mashup of a few Tenacious D songs. As you can see at the beginning here, we got "Long Live the D." Then here we have "Tribute." So that's just a little tidbit there. Today we're going to be using Steven Slate Drums. The kit I chose for this one is called Stepchild, under the classic rock section here. Got the old Zepp snare. I chose this kit because I felt like it sounded, pretty timeless in terms of like what a classic rock, pop rock kit should kind of sound like. And, I felt like this really matched the style of Tenacious D. And I got the tambourine routed out right here. And I also have the toms routed out. And to do that, set up your routing in Steven Slate Drums 5. You basically go to Mixer. And then out here, everything defaults to out 1 stereo. And then basically you just click on the output and just click wherever you want it to go for whichever track you want to route out, so that you can put your own plugins on it. So that's super useful. Here, as you can see, I set up an auxiliary track and just put the input to plugin SSD Sampler 5, and then choose the appropriate output that you want. So, and besides that, yeah, I have a DF Excite on here, which is like a really cool kind of drum exciter plugin. This thing just sounds awesome. It makes a huge difference in everything. I really like the way distressors sound on like all drums. This particular drum program is just amazing. Like I never feel like I really have to route out everything in it. I kind of like the way that it sounds in this internal mixer right here. Everything's it's super balanced the way it is. Something else I really like on this plugin too is that you have all your attack, decay, sustain, and release settings. So this is really useful to try and get the length of the drum samples kind of a little bit more in time with the song. This is just awesome to have all right here in the DAW. So let me solo the drums so you guys can just hear what everything is doing here. Got the tambourine in there. of the ways that I approach programming drums is that I've been a drummer for over 20 years. So, you know, when I'm going into program drums, I always think, like, okay, like, what would I do if I was playing here? If I was doing this, if I was, like, doing a roll on the tom, you know, which hand would hit first? And then how would I, you know, like, adjust the velocities of that? And today I'm going to be showing you how I kind of go about that whole process. Let's take this part in the middle, for example. Here's our velocity right here. So when you're programming MIDI drums, the key to make them sound natural is really adjusting these velocity hits. You know, some of them, depending on the part, it sounds really cool to leave the same or somewhat the same, but most of the time, especially your kick and snare, you want those to kind of be pretty consistent through the whole song, because then you can use less compression. And as a result, you can kind of make everything sound a little bit more musical, in my opinion. You know, some people might not agree with that, but I found, at least with these virtual drum kits, the less compression you use, it just seems to come out a little bit more musical sounding. You know, I think that's where people kind of mess up. They treat it like it's a live drum kit. And live drum kits, you know, like, you do need to use compression on everything in varying amounts because it's all dynamic, you know, and you want to kind of reduce the dynamic range so that you can get all the drums more focused while you're mixing. But with virtual instruments, you don't really have to worry about that as much because you have all this control over the velocity here. However loud or quiet we make the velocity from 1 to 127 is going to dictate how quiet or like how hard the drums are hit. So we can do everything from ghost notes here to, you know, full rim shot hits. So even though it looks like I'm barely doing it, there is a little bit of movement right there. So if I hold this, so on Pro Tools, if you hold Command and you touch the MIDI note, it will show you at the top left of the screen. It appears right here. It usually appears right there depending on where you're clicking or what key command you're using, but look right here for right now. When I click this note, 106 is my velocity for that cymbal hit. You can see my kick and snare kind of focal point. I felt like the 106 sample kind of felt really consistent for this part. It won't stay 106 the whole time. It just depends on what is needed for the part dynamically. You can see the toms here are a little different. What I do like in Pro Tools is that once you find like the kind of focal point of where you want to keep your velocity, you can input it right here. You just double click and then type in your amount. I already have it at 106, so I'm keeping it there. But that's just for this section. In another section, I might change it later. Something else that's really cool in Steven Slate Drums is that they have these different samples of even just the ride hit. If you listen really closely, they basically took samples from what it sounds like of the drummer hitting maybe slightly to the left of the bell, not on the bell obviously, but like on the actual cymbal. Like if this is the bell, the drummer's hitting maybe a little bit more over here or over here on one of the samples, or a little farther down on the cymbal. And that creates all these different little subtleties that make the drums sound like a real person is playing it, instead of one-shot samples where if a drummer's playing the same part, the same velocity, the same part of the drum kit, you know, it's going to sound fake. So, I mean, there's various things you can do to make one-shot samples sound a little more realistic. But that is a tutorial for another video. For this one, I want to kind of show you guys how I went into approach this basic part here. So here we got a little bit more dynamics coming up. Before we go to that, I just want to play this with the music just so you can see how this part sounds, you know, the way it should for this specific part. So this part's bouncy, so I kind of wanted to bring that out more with the dynamics in the velocity here. Some of you might be wondering, like, why use the same sample on this MIDI note right here of the ride if I have, you know, these options here to hit that one. It really just depends on your workflow and whatever sounds the best in the moment. Like when I was programming this, I really felt like that having one hit harder and the one hit softer on the same part of the ride is kind of more what I would do anyways. It's not like I'm going to go to the right or the left side of the bell to hit it. Like I would kind of stay in the same spot, but hit the first one louder and the second one softer. So like my right hand's kind of bouncing on the ride cymbal like that. And it sounds really natural right here. The tambourine is really cool in this program too, because you got 3 samples. You got like the up hit, the down hit, up hit, down hit, hand hit. Brilliant. I love how they included all that like exactly that way. And also here too, like it sounds dynamic enough. I didn't really feel like it needed crazy, you know, different dynamics where like this one was at 106, this one's at 100, this one's at 95, this one's at 150. Like it didn't need anything crazy like that because these samples are already all different from each other. And also too, since they're already different enough, you know, once again, like it doesn't need like a crazy amount of compression. You're already hearing the movement and it's a little more contained, so I can just let the sample be what it is. And it sounds right and consistent in the song with the whole mix. Also here we have the bell hits. So something that is really important if you're doing like bell hits right here, because kind of like when you hear this part with the mix, you kind of just hear the quarter note hits and the bell ringing really loud. But sometimes, depending on the tempo, it doesn't sound very good to just leave it like hitting and then not have too much space. I don't know, something about the way like these virtual kits like decay, they don't really sound natural sometimes. So it's nice to kind of have like a almost a smaller ghost note underneath it with the ride right here. So it's like big hit, ghost note, big hit, ride, ghost note. There's something about that workflow with you know, those big quarter note bell hits on the ride that just sound a little more realistic. Something else that's really cool on the Steven Slate drums is the cymbal catches. A lot of other virtual instruments have this, but some don't. Let's hear the part where the cymbal catches come in. Now, these are really, really hard to get to sound natural. So there's 2 cymbal hits. Here's the catch. You hear the drummer catching it like that. The sample itself sounds really nice, but you know, sometimes you got to play it with the length of it and to get it just right. So the best way to do it is to kind of like do it with the whole mix, you know, because like when everyone hears this part, it's going to be with the rest of the guitar and bass, not just by itself. Keep that in mind. guess that part just has guitar. So if we need to, something that we can do to make that part sound a little more natural is add like a room verb or something like that to create a little more ambiance so it doesn't sound so dry when the cymbal gets caught. Why don't we just do that right now? Let's add the Ocean Way. This UAD plugin, Ocean Way Studios, is a really cool room sound for drums. It basically is recreating the sound as if your drums are in this bigger room here. Okay, let's create a new auxiliary bus here. Make this same color. And turn this down a bit. Let's put this into our drum bus. Already that's sounding a little more natural right there. Yeah, now I'm hearing a little bit longer of that decay of like, cause like when you do the cymbal hit, like the drummer's hand is kind of muting the cymbal, but it usually doesn't all mute just all at once. So adding a little bit of room decay on that can really add a lot of naturalness to cymbal hit. See if we can get even more out. Let's try the remic or the reverb mode. They both sound pretty similar for the specific instance that we're using it for. I'll turn this up more. That's a little too loud. I might just keep this on the whole kit, actually. It sounds kind of cool for this song. Actually automate how much of the send we put in during this part. Let's just try. Okay, sometimes you gotta experiment with this kind of stuff, but let's try putting it on through the whole section. We might just need to put it on for the cymbal decay part, but it might sound kind of cool to make the drums a little bigger and give it some more of that room sound right here since the whole band stops. little bit of this. We get kind of a blend of everything. Something about the catch right here sounds a little funny to me. Like there's too much decay coming off it, so I'm just gonna mute, turn down that part with the automation. There we go. Copy the same thing here on this part. Make this one sound just a little bit different, so it almost sounds like the decay isn't like copy and pasted like that. Cool with that. If you think about it, a drummer will never catch the cymbal the same exact way each time, so the decay will kind of ring just slightly different. But yeah, it sounds pretty cool to me. It sounds very natural. All right, let's keep on moving forward and programming some more drums for these parts. So if you hit Option, you can just drag over what you highlighted. In this case, the bell is going to be, I'm pretty sure, pretty much the same here. So when programming drums, you kind of just gotta go for it and just like, have some knowledge of, quarter notes, eighth notes, 16th notes, 32nd notes, 64th notes, all that kind of good stuff, and just try to find where you want the kick and snare and all that kind of stuff to hit. Sometimes you kind of gotta move around till it gets right on the right place you want. In this case, the snare is doing like, I think I want it to do kind of like a push, so I gotta figure out where I want the push to kind of be based off this grid. I think I kind of want it to go like that. I feel like the kick should just hit. There we go. Get a cymbal hit here. This part I want to sound very dynamic. I'm gonna make this kick a little bit louder. And this one. So to click two MIDI notes right here and have them both highlighted, you just click select, click the one you want first, and then hold shift and then click the second one. If you hold command, see how it's changing right here? That only works though if you're in this the smart tool kind of mode up here. Like we could be in the pencil tool mode, which that has its own cool things you can do, like this, for example. You gotta be in line mode for that, but that can really, you know, save you some time if you have like a big double bass drum kind of a part. Most of the time, though, I like to stay in the Smart Tool for the MIDI window while creating my drum parts. Dude, that cymbal hit's not quite big enough. This kick's gotta hit way harder. We can get more decay by dragging it longer. Cool is there. Like a splash cymbal here. There we go. Really get these cymbals to ring. So I don't really like the way this sounds right here. I'm gonna try making it a little quieter or taking it out. I feel like that space there, I might want to take this out. Oh, that sounds kind of cool. Let me go one lower. Because like I was saying before, when you don't have like an eighth note feel going, when you have like one kind of strong quarter note feel hitting, sometimes it just sounds too empty, and it's kind of nice to hear that extra kind of ghost note, keeping the eighth note feel. It keeps the energy up. And also sometimes drummers naturally kind of do that anyways. They kind of hit and then have a really quiet hit right after as well, almost like a ghost note, just because of the way that they're hitting and the way that the stick is bouncing on the cymbals. You know, copy that, see how they sound together. Cool. I'm gonna make this one a little bit louder just so sounds a little more bouncy. Down one. Notice how on this, like, I'm not going to like 127 or something every time. Like, you don't want to like have these drastic amounts. Like, if you want to do that, you would just have to use more compression on each track. But the way a lot of these virtual instruments are designed is like you don't need to do that. So like if you don't need to, just then you don't need to. Like I think you know, some people think like, oh, just everything needs compression. It's like, well, compression is supposed to be a tool to control dynamics. If you already have the tool to control the dynamic ranges down here with the velocity, and you can kind of set it to exactly what you want to, then you don't really need to use compression as a tool to fix things, but you can use it as a tool to kind of enhance and make things sound more musical when it's needed. I find that that distressor that I was using on like my drum bus kind of does exactly what I want anyways, so I might even throw some parallel compression in there as well. We are going to add some extra drum samples on top of this in just a little bit. I'm going to keep focusing on programming right now. Kind of like a little fill going here. And let's do a flam here. So it goes kind of like that. I find that flams seem to sound the best on triplet mode and 64th notes for whatever reason. Depending on the tempo, I find that this 98% of the time usually sounds really nice for flams. Pretty nice to me. Okay, so for this next section, I actually have the drums pre-programmed just because it took a while to do. And I'll explain my process of how I went about doing this. So, you hear the drums leading up to it. We got some kind of ghost notes going on here, and with the snare hits, and also some tom rolls. Let's zoom in here, take a closer look at it. So as you can see too here, there's a lot of dynamics going on. The lighter blue MIDI notes are the ones at the lower velocity range. We got 69 there for the loudest snare. Notice how it's on the rim shot snare as well. The rim shot snare sample. This one's on the center snare sample. The 59, so it's a 10 velocity difference to get to sound that natural. These are all slightly different, just so that it would sound very organic. Okay, that one's 66, 48, 71, 58. Once again, I'm looking up here for the velocity. This snare sample is 70. This one is 55. Also made these kicks slightly different velocities as well. This is 115, 106, 116. Notice how it's hitting hard and then a little softer, hitting hard again, a little softer. Something else I did to make this part sound a little more natural is I pushed the cymbals and the snare hits a little early. I feel like in parts like this where it almost sounds like it's speeding up, even though I think it might be the same. Yeah, it's the same tempo. The drummer will oftentimes slightly speed up ahead of the beat, just to create a little more excitement. It's kind of a subconscious thing. Sometimes drummers don't even realize they're doing it, but not good, bad, right, or wrong. It's just like in a part like this, it's everything starting to really build and get exciting, And we're going to a faster drum roll here, so I felt like it just sounded a little less stiff, pushing it just slightly ahead of the beat, and I just did that in slip mode and just kind of dragged it till it felt natural. However, not all these are are not like all pushed ahead. As you can see, this third drum, oh, that's a kick. Okay, so one of these is a cymbal. Yeah, this cymbal I kept right on the grid. It just sounded right for the part. So I just slightly nudged all of these. So now what we're going to do is just kind of copy this to the next section as well. Maybe add a few different variants. So then we're going to do the next part of the beat. For a hi-hat, why not? Do more of a quarter note hi-hat kind of a feel here. Actually, you know what? Let's do 2 cymbal hits right here. for the flam hit right here. It sounds good, but might sound a little more natural, making this one just a little quieter. Maybe the top one a little quieter. Yeah, I like that. Get out of triplet, go back to 16ths. Something else that's really cool right here is just hearing that stereo image of the drum kit, of hearing like the like hearing the left crash hit and then the right crash hit. Let these cymbals ring a little longer. Something else too is in like a part like this where it comes to a quarter note jam on the hi-hat. The reason I'm not like copy and pasting these two right there is because the drummer's foot might slightly change the way it's holding down the hi-hat, and then also too, in this amount of time, and then also too, the quarter note hits, the hits are going to be a little bit more inconsistent. So like he might hit it and then like slightly adjust his foot, and some of these keep it really strong, and just like tightly clasped like right here and right here, where these are a little more open, so the sound's just a little bit different. This sounds natural the way it is. It's not like I always do it in this cycle or sequence. It just sounds natural for this part at this tempo. So something else here too in this section is like the hi-hat sounds cool, but I do kind of want to audition it. I'm going to mute these with Command M. With ride. I'm kind of curious to see what the ride cymbal would sound like here. So I'm just going to copy these. Try these in eighth notes. So I just made the notes a little smaller, and if you hold Option, drag over, now you got eighth notes. So if I keep this, I would definitely have to adjust the velocity a bit more. So I'm just going to make these all I'm going to do brand new version. Also, if you're in the Smart Tools, you can hold Control and also get that same effect of the pencil tool. In this case, though, I'm going to be doing this. The two different velocities, and I can copy and paste like this. The workflow tip. Make these a little more wild velocities. Kind of randomly go like that. Try the snare out right there. Kind of cool. Alright, now let's mute this and then go back to the hi-hat and just see which one sounds better. Interesting. The hi-hat didn't sound as good with this snare hit. Hi-hat needs to come down the velocity or something. It sounded better down the velocity like that with the snare. Come back a little bit. For now, I think I'm just going to go with the hi-hat. This part's going to repeat. I'm going to keep the kick down there like that and then make the hi-hat, the snare go up like that on the second time around, just so that the audience can kind of get used to this beat the first time through. Now let's copy this. And then now I'll drop the snare. This sounds much more natural right there. Shot is a little bit too hard right there. I'm going to bring this down off the rim shot. Cool. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you like this video, be sure to leave a like or a comment. And as always, please subscribe to my YouTube channel if you want to see more content like this. And with that, this is Brian Bolin signing off. I'll see you next time.